This video is a part 2 video in collaboration with Shifted History. If you haven't already, please watch part 1 on his channel before watching this video. Now let's pick off where Shifted left off. The year is 1929. The US is having a grand time, partying, enjoying all the money coming in. Then, boom! Wall Street crashes and the big sad happens. This would mostly affect the US as Great Britain, France, the Soviets, and Germany would have their own economic spheres and aren't heavily economically reliant on them, and they don't have to pay back war loans. In April of 1932, the Spring Riots occur in the British Raj, which is caused by people wanting more autonomy, some wanting independence, and anger over Indian and Pakistan lives being taken and for nothing during the Great War. Luckily for the British, the rebellions are quashed, but the other dominions look at Britain with worry, and Britain knows that if it slips up, they could lose a big part of their empire. A couple years later in 1935, Italy surprise attacks Ethiopia. Although Italy has to put in some serious elbow grease to win, they eventually are victorious, and it's propagandized as a big win for Italy. Even though, they had to cheat and use gas attacks and tanks to win, but that's whatever. In 1936, the German junta, French commune, and Italians start big military buildups, which worries its neighbors and Britain. Here's the size that would be in Europe. Germany, its Bohemian and Eastern puppet states would be in the Deutsches Pact. Italy, Greece, and Serbia would be in the Mediterranean Alliance. And finally, Bulgaria and Albania would be in the Balkan Union Alliance. Countries like Romania and Hungary would be hard-pressed to find allies due to being surrounded by unfriendly nations who want or hold their land. When the Spanish Civil War rages, the Phalangists are supported by Italy and a little bit by Germany. And the Republicans are fully supported by France and the Soviet Union. And later on in 1939, the Republicans end up winning because of stronger Republican support, and thus a socialist government is established in Spain. There's a number of ways this alternate World War II could start, but for simplicity's sake and because it's tradition, we'll have Germany start it. In 1939, the German junta and Soviets signed the Molotov-Neurath Pact. The German junta reluctantly relinquishes control of Ukraine, Crimea, Belarus, and Estonia. A non-aggression pact is established between the two, and resources are shared with Germany from the Soviets. And secretly, Germany recognizes Soviets' claims on Finland, Bessarabia, and the Caucasus. This, however, caused a split between France and the Soviets, as France feels like the Soviets betrayed them by working with Germany. Soon after, the Germans sent an ultimatum to France: Alsace-Lorraine or war. The French refuse, and so Germany declares war. The French have built the Great Maginot Line on the German border, and so the Germans decide, hey, let's just go around the Maginot Line through Belgium. This can't be accepted by Britain because they guarantee Belgium, and they don't want Germany to have another shot of having full hegemony over Europe. And so, to the dismay of some in the Empire, Great Britain declares war on Germany to protect Belgian sovereignty. Even though France and Great Britain are fighting the same enemy, they don't work together or join an alliance, as Britain has a disdain for the communist French government, and meanwhile the Soviets are conducting their own schemes. First, they annexed Bessarabia after sending an ultimatum to Romania. Then they annexed the Caucasus nations after strong-arming Turkey into giving them ownership over the nations. And finally, they get themselves into a war with Finland after they refuse their ultimatum. Finland holds their own for a while, but gives in to Soviet demands eventually, and a peace treaty is signed. In 1940, Germany breaks through the Ardennes, and a big chunk of France is under German control. And by late 1940, Belgium capitulates, then the French are pushed to Brittany and the south. And in 1941, they capitulate. In the Mediterranean Alliance then declares war on Hungary to seize wanted territories. As the war is declared, Romania joins in the Mediterranean Alliance, and also declares war on Hungary. Soon after, the Hungarians surrender, and the nation is split up, and a friendly government is installed. Montenegro and Bosnia join in on the Mediterranean Alliance, thanks to Mussolini's excellent diplomacy and a gun to their heads. In Asia, French Indochina is forcibly handed over to Japan at their request. The British-Franco War against Germany is at a standstill, with Germany having an edge. The British can't land troops in Belgium, and the Germans have no way of landing in the British mainland. Germany's planes try to get air supremacy in Britain, but Great Britain won that war, and a lot of German pilots were shot down or captured in the attempt. Britain, however, holds the cards, as they have blockaded Germany and have oil for spare use, unlike their enemies. Now, there's two ways things could go. One is World War II ends in another stalemate like World War I, in which there's a four-way Cold War: the Communist, Mediterranean Alliance, Germany, and the rest of the free world. And option number two is slightly more unrealistic, but more fun, and where the German military junta invades the Soviets. So obviously, we're gonna go with the cooler option. Numero dos. In June 1941, feeling cocky over their wins in the West and needing resources for the war, Germany decides to invade the Soviet Union. The Germans and Finns advanced through a huge chunk of the Soviets before they stopped due to bad terrain and logistics. They managed to capture major cities like Minsk, Smolensk, and even Kiev. Simultaneously, the Mediterranean Alliance declares war on Albania and Bulgaria. And in mid-42, being surrounded on all fronts, both nations of Albania and Bulgaria surrender and are territorially butchered and occupied. In 1943, the Germans begin to get pushed back. Then suddenly, British soldiers land in Normandy and northern France. They liberate France bit by bit. In 1944, the Baltics fall, as well as Poland, and the Soviets begin to enter Germany proper. Great Britain moves slowly as well into Germany. In late 1944, Churchill and Stalin meet to discuss the future of Europe. And in 1945, after exhausting their supplies, men, and territory, Germany surrenders. In the West, France is restored, and so is Belgium. But secret actions by Britain cause a French Republic to replace the French Commune. West Germany is occupied by Britain as well as Austria. In the East, the Soviets annex the German puppets except for Poland, which they turn into a satellite, as well as Czechia. And East Germany and Austria are occupied by the Soviets. As one war ends, another starts, that being the Cold War. There's three sides: the capitalist, neutralist, who mainly consist of autocracies and members of the Mediterranean Alliance, and the communists. We will end this scenario in a world where the United States never showed its teeth in the grand stage and remained isolated on the world stage. Great Britain is the leader of NATO, or whatever they'll call the name of their alliance. And with nukes potentially being available later on, this world will cease to exist. Or it might survive with the communists losing, or even the capitalists losing. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed that video, and remember to check out Shifted History for the part 1 video. He also makes a ton of other great alternate history videos. And I'd like to thank him for the opportunity for this collab. He messaged me, saying, hey, let's do a video. And I was like, hell yeah. So remember guys, like and subscribe. And until the next video. Peace.